2025 got off to a snowy start when Delmarva saw anywhere from 6 to 11 inches of snow. It was the first major snow event on Delmarva in 3 years.
Then last week, yet another storm made its way to Delmarva, dumping even more snow. Accumulation reports ranging from 4 inches to 10 inches. The question this week, are we in for another major snow event this week?
If you've paid attention to recent social media posts, you may think there's a good possibility of rounding out the winter with a trifecta, if you will. So we decided this would be a great time to bring in a trusted voice of reason, WVOC Chief Meteorologist Mike Lichniak. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
How's your last couple days been?
Not bad until this morning when I woke up and the models decided, hey, let's just drop this storm 400 miles south and let's have fun with it.
Okay, so the catalyst to all of the weather hoopla for the past week or so has been these models that you speak of.
The models and the apps, the national apps that you have on your phone, like Apple has their own app, Google has their own app. And the Apple one in particular will put snowfall totals up based on one or the other model, whichever one it decides it wants to follow for that day. Well, when this storm first appeared on the models last Wednesday, they were dropping feet upon feet of snow on Delmarva and up and down the East Coast. So you would open up that app and it'd say, oh yeah, you're going to get 16 to 20 inches of snow, which exactly, that was my first thought. I was like, okay, there's a possibility that there's going to be a snowstorm. Okay. So I have to get out ahead of it, post on social media saying, hey, this is what your app is going to say when you open it. This is what somebody in their basement is going to post. They're just going to post the raw data and this is what they're going to show you. Let's not listen to it. Let's give it a few days. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
And in theory, that's what we've gotten to the point where we can start realistically making a snowfall map.
Because you've gotten closer.
Because we're now closer. We're within 48 hours of the snow starting here on Delmarva.
Okay, talk to us about the models. We hear a reference all the time to the computer models. What are these? How did they get developed?
Okay, so weather models in itself is a depiction of what the atmosphere should look like with a given time. So the way that they work, Jimmy, is you take all the readings, whether they be temperatures, relative humidity, moisture, what the radar looks like, what the satellite looks like at that moment, whether it be from the surface or from weather balloons that we launch all across the U.S.
Right.
Somebody takes all that data, puts it into a supercomputer and hits go. And the model gives you what it interprets what the atmosphere should look like over a given time frame.
Okay, so do these data points come from history?
No. So the data points come from current observations, like the current temperature.
I guess what I'm asking is, well, anybody could make a model then, if you don't have something that you're basing it on.
So you're basing the model on how the Earth is interpreted with regards to mathematics and science.
Okay.
What we understand as the science of meteorology.
Gotcha.
And how math and, the atmosphere is in itself a chaotic fluid, as you said, it works with fluid dynamics. We can make mathematical equations where if you put this value into here and put this value into here and you hit go, should give you an answer.
It ought to do that.
It gives you the answer key. So you have multiple different models, whether they be American models, Canadian computer models, European computer models, that all take the same data, but they all have different physics. They all have different little tweaks to those equations. So when you hit enter, you get several different answers to the equation. The question is then, which one becomes the most accurate?
Yeah.
So does one end up being more accurate than the other in your eyes?
Well, in history, the European model tends to be a little bit more accurate than, say, the American and the Canadian, just based on the effectiveness of the computer model, the physics and the science inside of that model, for some reason, a little bit better than the American model, and it's probably because that's a privately funded model, whereas the American model is funded by the American government.
Yeah.
We can only make so many upgrades based on the budget that it has for that couple of years.
Right.
So we can only upgrade it so often, whereas the Europeans and that company that runs the European model, they can upgrade it almost every year.
So, like with everything else, is artificial intelligence being used anymore?
Yes, it is. So we are now taking those data points, we're taking those equations, putting them into AI and saying, hey, how can we do better? And the model, we actually have a representation of the European model that uses AI to help with some of the tweaking of the physics before they hit go, which has now been proven to be more and more accurate than the current model. So the Europeans go, let's just make that the actual model. So starting, I believe, in the summer, that model with AI interpretation in it becomes the main European model.
Aren't you worried that we're not going to need you anymore?
No, because a computer is only so smart. And at some point, you have to know how the actual science works, because the model is always going to say, "Oh, this has to be the right answer," and then we'll look at it and be like, "Maybe that's not the right answer." And it's come to be proven, all computer models still have weaknesses somewhere.
Right.
Well, we know we always need you and always will. And thank you for helping us figure out what's going to happen later on in the week.
Absolutely.
So,
You're
it
the
looks
man.
like we're going to get snow.
We are going to get some snow.
Something.
It's just not going to be the biblical 2 to 3
36 inches.
feet of snow that we were saying.
And I thank you for that.
Of course, Mike.
WBOC Chief Meteorologist Mike Lichniak, thank you.